and the Bell Show. My name is Shane Brennan. I'm really delighted to have from Sumer Sports Shawn Syed to talk to me about some schematic things we're going to look forward to with these two teams playing in Super Bowl 60. Shawn, good to see you.
I'm excited to be here.
It feels natural for a guy named Shawn to be on the Irish and the Bell Show. I mean, I feel like, did you see the green and it felt like you had to come over? Like, these are this is where I ought to be talking ball.
Of course. I mean, you guys are, it seems like the nicest gentleman here. So it feels like, of course, you got to come be here.
We do our best. We're known in honor for our smiles when we're sober, and it gets different later on. So obviously, just to give us a flavor as to the kind of work you do, you're like a lot of the stuff you do, the analysis you do is based on schemes. It's based on how offense in particular kind of line up on things. So just give our audience a flavor as the kind of insights you bring into the NFL.
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing is like football is the most beautiful chess match that we can ever think of. Of course, it is driven by these extremely powerful, fast human beings, but there's all of these little micro decisions that are being made. Where is this player lining up? How am I going to run on this play? Am I going to pass on this play? And to me, to learn more about the game has been so fun. And I feel like every day is a learning experience, whether it's what is Vic Fangio doing on defense that's changing the league, whether it's what is Kyle Shanahan doing on offense that people are copying. I think this is actually a pretty fun game where there's a lot of little things that I think are going to matter.
I love your description of it as being this sort of this great chess match. Because like the X and O's, you just think, okay, it's hopscotch or whatever. At least it's a chess match. You get to realize actually, and it's kind of like 4D chess. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of like the great schematic brains who are sort of involved in the league. You mentioned Kyle Shanahan and Vic Fangio there. Who do you think at the moment is probably the most revolutionary coach in the league?
I mean, it's such a good question because, people don't always like to look at, I think, the Packers offense. I do think what Matt LaFleur does on offense is quite a lot of fun.
Okay.
Ben Johnson, to me, I think he is really part of this wave of coaches that it's not like, hey, we just need to get into the perfect play. We need to have the perfect angle. It's like we are hunting explosive plays. That's what I really love.
So that's a good point on Ben Johnson I want to talk about, because a lot of people look at Ben Johnson and look at he's changed the culture. He's changed the culture. And not that people forget it, but it maybe gets slightly lost in the conversation, the idea that A, there's an offensive identity, but B, that he is just a genius at what he does.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch because I think 10 years ago, we get one single high safety, we're running play action, we get a deep crosser. That's what people did back then. Now defenses are smarter. We're going to keep our two high safeties back. Now creating explosive plays against defenses that are trying to prevent explosive plays, that is really, to me, like how you're showing your special. Of course, we can talk about McVay, Shanahan. There's so many of those good guys, but watching what Ben Johnson did with Chicago was quite a lot of fun.
Do you think that it is getting more difficult to create explosive plays across the league?
I do, because defenses are, I think, getting smarter. Defenses aren't like Seahawks are a great example. They're just going to keep 5 defensive backs on the field no matter what we do. We can put 15 guys on offense. They're going to keep their 2 high safeties back there. So I do think it becomes harder, and then it becomes more of a premium on the coaches that can do it. So to me, Liam Cohen did a really good job with the Jaguars this year, having that. We are manufacturing explosive plays. We are hunting that. We're setting up our explosive play 5 plays down the road with what we're doing right now. So those coaches, to me, like that's going to constantly be something that's a positive.
So that's an interesting point, because if we talk about the league, and I think some people, there's always a great battle between pragmatism and the kind of, what we see in the Detroit going for it. We're always going for, we're trusting our guys. What if you think now that defenses are getting a lot better at sort of stopping explosive plays? What do you feel like is actually the better way to sort of counteract that? Is it to just sort of be smart and be methodical, or is it to be that more hunter-gatherer type?
I still think it's like, I'm a kill shot. Like, you want to take the kill shots. You want to find out, even like
you're here for rock and roll, right?
Yeah, look, I'm not getting fired if I'm going for it on 4th down. My paychecks hopefully are still going to clear. So it's easier for me to say that. I understand when you're in the headset, like, oh man, like that's a totally different moment. But just like, talking to some players this week, for example, like they understand, like, hey, if our culture is set that we are a go for it on 4th down type offense, look, we are going to get behind that. It's easy. Hey, you missed 1, you missed 2. You feel like we lost the game by 3 points. In the long run, a lot of these teams, like the Carolina Panthers, I think are a good example where in a lot of these games that they won, they're not the favorite, right? But they're able to shrink it down, make it a coin flip in some of these moments. You hit some of those 4th downs, and now, as you said, ready to rock and roll.
Well, let's talk about kill shots, because we talk about the New England Patriots first of all before we talk about the Seahawks. I think the Patriots have been an offense that have managed to get a couple of those kill shots. We're talking about the touchdown to Keyshawn Boutte against the Houston Texans, been the kind of the big one from the outstanding from the playoffs. What have you liked about this Patriots offense when it comes to how they've developed throughout the season? When obviously Josh McDaniels is there, sort of running the scheme, being the sort of chess master everywhere to keep that motif going. What is it you've liked about how Drake May and his offense have run so far this year?
May has developed, I think, at such a quick level this year where when you watch him drop back, he gets to the same exact spot. I think he makes his offensive line's life easier in a lot of ways. At the same time, you see him extend some plays just maybe a little bit too much, and it ends up in a sack. But May really likes that isolation shot. I got 3 receivers over there. I have 1 receiver to my right side. If you're going to leave your cornerback one-on-one, that ball is flying out there. And I even think in this game, it can be a situation where that's where he's going to attack. And you mentioned Kayshon Boutte, like his film, you'll ask him, his rookie year film was not good.
No, it
like
wasn't.
He's open about it, and to see him improve is so nice. Where you see everyone kind of meshing together in year 2 for Drake May.
So if we're looking at the wide receivers who we think are going to be sort of getting those big shots, let's say on the Patriots, if it is the 3 versus 1, who's the one guy that you think that Drake May is going to lean on? Who does he want to be in those one-on-one situations?
I mean, I think he does like throwing that isolation to Boutte. I think that he would like to have some of the maybe underneath type looks where you're throwing to Stephon Diggs. He's very comfortable with him. I think he's comfortable throwing to the tight ends, even Pop Douglas in some of these situations. I do like that May, I think, has become comfortable with multiple guys. It still feels like if he sees one-on-one on the outside, that ball's going out there.
It's funny because in the regular season, like the player who's caught more touchdowns than anybody else is Hunter Henry. But who are we talking when we talk about the Patriots? Talking about Douglas and Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte. It's those kind of big guys we always remember more, I think, in the way. So in terms of like how tight ends might sort of change this game, do you think what role will Hunter Henry play for the Patriots?
I think in the red zone is a big spot where Drake really, really trusts Hunter Henry. I do think also against the Seahawks, if you're trying to find a way to attack, if you can, throw some balls over the middle at that linebacker level, I think maybe that's a way where Hunter Henry is able to attack. I mean, Drake May's been comfortable with him since day 1 of his rookie season, really. So it does feel like if you're able to make it that kind of work where you're not just throwing out Witherspoon all the time on the outside, let's maybe get those linebackers moving left and right. Maybe you get a tight end going over the top.
Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold, great quarterback or a product of his scheme?
That's a great question. I think he played like a great quarterback in the NFC Championship game. That to me is very, very important because you could look at different points along the season and it's like, hey, JSN is really, really positive force here. The Seattle Seahawks do not win that game unless Sam Darnold played the way that he did in the NFC Championship, which is really, really cool, I think, to have, where now we get to go into the next game and see, all right, well, what's it going to kind of look like? So I'm excited because I think that the Patriots defense is a little bit better than what people actually think. I mean, Sam Darnold might become football immortality. Like that is so cool for me to think about.
The first quarterback from the 2018 draft to be playing a Super Bowl.
Unbelievable thing to say out loud.
I mean, yeah, it's a bizarre thing. So let's just go on. I think talking about the impact that the loss of Jack Charbonnet is going to have and what we can expect from Seattle, because that run game has been explosive at times, but it's also been the bedrock for what they're trying to do. I mean, we talk about how great their defense is at selling what they're not doing, if you know what I mean. Whereas an offense, having that run game means they were able to do that misdirection a lot better. Jacques Charbonnet being out of that system obviously changed that. That didn't really affect them too much against the Rams because, hey, they're set up to play a pretty good game. Sam Darnold, probably the best game of his Seahawks career, I would say. But in terms of this game in the Super Bowl, how big of a loss do you think that is for Seattle?
I do think it is a loss. I do like the way Kenneth Walker has been playing the last few games, where I talked to Clint Kubiak on opening night and I asked him, like, hey, your run game has been up and down. It feels like it has come a long way over these last few games. And he pointed to, like, look, like Walker was not healthy through the entire season. For him to feel a little bit better now is really, really important. So, I mean, Kenneth Walker is an angry runner. I'm very happy to not be in the NFL and have to try and tackle Kenneth Walker. So I do kind of like what they have there. At the same time, I think where the Patriots have a guy like Milton Williams, have a guy like Tonga on the inside, I do think the Patriots might feel good about some of those situations.
Jackson Smith-Njigba was very much the guy that the Seahawks were focused on. There were many games this season when he was like over 50% of their offense in terms of yards gained. That wasn't the case against the San Francisco 49ers, in fairness, in the playoffs, but it has been the case for a significant chunk of the year. Is that a strength or a weakness, the fact that they have been quite reliant on Jack Smith-Njigba, but at the same time, he's also been delivering for them when he needs to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally happy to rely on a guy that's always open, right? I think that's
fair enough.
To me, a big thing is because I'm thinking, okay, well, how do the Patriots approach him? Do you try and find ways to double team? Well, what I really like about what the Seahawks do with JSN is he's going to line up in the backfield. He's going to line up in the slot. He's going to move around the formation. So it's not as simple as I have a double team on him. So I'm comfortable relying on him. I do feel like you've seen Cooper Kupp make a few nice catches. You have a guy like AJ Barner who's actually productive as a tight end. I think that Kubiak has had some positive plays in the screen game to guys like Kenneth Walker. So, I would much rather have JSN on my team than not have him.
That's a very good point. All right, listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you very much for joining us in the Irish NFL show. I have to ask, though, Super Bowl 60, who's winning?
The Seattle Seahawks are winning. I feel like the Seahawks are the team, and that's easy to say. I do think it's going to be closer than what the feel is, just because a blowout in the Super Bowl, that's not historically what we've seen. I think it's going to be a little bit
when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl the last time, it was a blowout.
Okay, fine. You pull out the receipts on me. You're right. Over the long course of history. Usually not. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard where the Seahawks, I want to see how the Patriots offense is able to get the Seahawks defense uncomfortable, because Seahawks defense they're going to be able to play your game, and they're doing that over and over. I mean, I would love to see Drake May be able to pull it out for the New England Patriots.
Awesome. Well, listen, your analysis is obviously great. For anybody in Ireland who's listened to you and think, hey, I want to hear more from that guy, where can they
means
find
a lot. Check me out on Twitter at Syed Schemes, just breaking down every little thing, trying to learn as much as I can about this game that we love.
I love these really sort of like NFL chess nerds. That's what we need more of in our lives. Thank you very much for joining the Irish NFL show.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.